Alright guys, Zion Williamson's Prism PSA 10 has decreased by 25% within the last month. Ja Morant's has decreased by about 23%. Even Luka's Prism PSA 10 has decreased by about 12% within the last month. Is the basketball market crashing, and is there a new buying strategy that might help with the crash of the market? Also, James Harden was traded to the Nets, so we're going to talk about what that means for the Nets and the NBA as a whole. Let's get into it. Alright, what is going on everyone? It is Hype Cards back with a new video. Today we're talking about a couple different things. Like I said in the intro, Zion Williamson's Prism has been decreasing, Ja Morant's has been decreasing, even Luka's Prism has been decreasing a little bit. I will say that the basketball market is not crashing, but you are starting to see some of these more popular players, Prisms and Optics and whatever other cards are starting to decrease in value a little bit, but there are also a lot of other players that are increasing in value. So we're going to talk about a buying strategy that might help you guys out to kind of hedge some of those losses that you might be experiencing. All right, guys, so the first thing that I want to do is talk about why some of these bigger players are possibly decreasing in value. So one of the ones I named in the intro was Zion. Like I say in all my videos, popularity drives price. So the media loves to cover Zion Williamson, and I feel like within the last few weeks, the last month or two, kind of since the season has started, they haven't been covering Zion as much. I think Zion has been playing very, very well. He stayed healthy, which is great, but they haven't been covering him as much as they did last year, as much as the hype of him as a rookie last year. So that's why I believe his prices have decreased. Ja Morant is another one that I mentioned in the intro. Once he comes back, as long as his ankle is healthy and he's playing well, I'm guessing his prices are going to jack back up. Luka is another one that I mentioned in the beginning, but Luka's prices have already actually started to rebound a little bit. He struggled shooting at the beginning of the season, and again, it's the same thing. The media loves to cover Luka. I feel like they haven't been talking about him as much recently, so that explains his slight decrease in price recently. And although there have been a lot of bigger names that have been decreasing in value recently, I'm sure a lot of them are going to shoot back up. Another reason that I think some big names are decreasing in value is because we had such a short offseason, so that whatever it was, 2 or 3 months of the offseason was basically just a big build-up for the first 1 or 2 weeks of the season, a big hype run before the season started where all these prices got jacked up, and now that the season has kind of settled in, it's been 2 or 3 weeks now, everyone's played about 10 games, everything's starting to level off to kind of where the prices belong. So I think you guys are seeing those prices decrease, but then as the season goes on, as different players shine more than others, their prices are going to start to increase again in value. Although a lot of these big name players' prices have started to decrease a little bit and settle within a certain range, there have been a lot of players whose prices have increased a lot recently. So we're going to talk about a different buying strategy real quick that you guys might want to consider as we start to get settled within the NBA season. All right, so we're back over here by the card wall, and I'm going to run you guys through kind of a new buying strategy that you might want to look into. I'm sure you've noticed it, but I'm going to give you a few examples of players whose prices have increases and talk to you guys about why they've probably increased lately, so you guys can apply that same strategy and find some other players and hopefully make some money investing. So the first player we're going to talk about is Mikal Bridges. I mentioned Mikal Bridges in my video last week. If you guys watched that video, his Silver Prism PSA 10 has increased about 200% over the last 3 months. I'll put his stats up here compared from last year to this year, just so you guys can see how much he's improved, and also obviously how his prices have been affected. So just like I mentioned earlier in this video, prices are all about attention. The Suns have more attention this year than they had last year, so there's more media coverage. And Mikal Bridges has been playing, as you can see, much better this year than he was playing last year. So he's getting much more attention, which probably explains why his Silver Prism PSA 10 has increased over 200% within the last 3 months. The next player that we're going to talk about that's sort of following that same pattern as Mikal Bridges is Nickeil Alexander-Walker for the Pelicans. He's obviously been playing much better this season as well, and you can see that his price has reflected that as well. So I'm sure you guys can kind of start to see a pattern here, and that's what this new buying strategy could look like. I think that there's a handful of players that are in this lower to sort of mid-market that have actually really improved their stats from last year. And as they're continuing to improve, they'll go off for 30 points in a night, and that's when the attention comes in, and that's what drives their prices up. So I think the big factor here is finding those players that have actually improved since last season. It's not about just going and finding a random player who you think could score 30 points in a night. It's finding those players who have actually improved their stats from last season, who are continuing to play better and better each night. And then once they do go off for 30 points in a night, people start to notice, people realize that they have been playing much better. The media covers them more, they get more attention, and that drives their prices up. So if I were you guys, as we start to settle into the NBA season more and more, find those teams that are getting more and more attention from the media, and find those players that have improved since last season. If there's a chance they can get more attention, if there's a chance they could go off a couple nights, maybe getting a starting spot, I would try investing in some of those players, and hopefully they do go off. Hopefully they get that attention, and then you guys can make some money off of them. All right, so now we're going to go back over to the desk, and we're going to talk about the James Harden trade, what that means for the NBA as a whole, and possibly the basketball card market. All right, so James Harden was traded to the Nets in a pretty big deal, and I think there's a lot of different implications about it. Like I said in my intro, there are a lot of players whose prices have decreased lately. Funny enough, James Harden's prices have actually increased by like 30% in like the last month or so. There's not a lot of sales of his PSA 10, but it's gone from like $1,750 to like $2,300 now since he's been traded to the Nets. So as far as buys of the Brooklyn Nets, I think that KD and James Harden are very good buys. I don't know if they'll be able to win the championship, but of course they're going to get a lot of attention from the media, and I do think they'll make it very far in the playoffs. I think they very well could win the championship, but I think both their prices will increase in value. I don't think James Harden is typically a very popular player to invest in, so this might kind of change the course of that. I don't think that Kyrie Irving is a very good buy right now, but there were a few other moving pieces to that trade that I think are important to look at. Something like Caris LeVert going to the Pacers now. He's kind of in a market all by himself. I don't think the Pacers get a lot of attention, but they've been playing very, very well this season. People do love Caris LeVert both as a player and as an investment, so I would heavily look into Caris LeVert. I'm not saying to buy him or not, but I'd definitely look into him. Victor Oladipo also went to the Rockets, which I think is an interesting move. I don't think he'll get a lot of attention down there, and I don't think his prices will be impacted too much, but you never know. So he's also someone that I would look at. And last but not least, I do have my Ja Morant silver grade back from PSA. I'll be getting the card, I think, within the next couple days. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet. I'll probably do a box opening in the next video. So let me know what else you guys want to see content-wise from me. I might do like a day in the life to show you guys how I create my content, what I do during the day, and how I search for my buys. But let me know anything else you guys want to see. Please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.